It all began with Emily sneering at me after I announced my resignation. I didn't respond to her mockery immediately. Instead, I kept my gaze steady, silent, but resolute. The conversation had been tense, as we were discussing the company's decision to cut labor costs. Both Emily and Tom seemed to relish the notion of trimming expenses, particularly at the expense of hard-working employees who relied on overtime pay. Their disdain was palpable, and it became clear that they were more than eager to push out anyone who might be a financial burden to the company. A week later, my phone rang incessantly. It was the company, calling repeatedly, each time more desperate than the last. When I finally answered, the president's voice was sharp, almost accusing. "Who exactly are you?" he asked. My first instinct was to scoff at his question, but I bit my tongue, keeping my composure. I calmly introduced myself. "I'm Lily Johnson, a 59-year-old employee who has dedicated 37 years to this company." I went on to explain how, over the years, I had helped manage 45 clients, providing crucial administrative and clerical services, especially in tax-related matters. Despite the overwhelming workload, I had always managed to keep my clients happy, maintaining long-standing relationships. But that didn't matter to them. To Tom and Emily, I was just another obstacle in their quest for power and status within the company. Tom, who was now heading the tax department, had become almost unrecognizable to me in the past few months. He had always been polite before his promotion, but after becoming the department head, he had adopted a condescending, arrogant tone. He dismissed my every concern with an air of superiority, often responding with instructions to consult the manual, dismissing my years of experience as irrelevant. Emily, Tom's assistant, joined in on the harassment. Her mocking laughter and insults about my rank and efficiency were constant. Even though I had declined a promotion to department head years ago, I didn't let their barbs get to me. I simply focused on my work, determined to complete my duties with professionalism, despite their best efforts to undermine me. The tipping point came when Tom began accusing me of increasing overtime hours, calling it a waste. Emily echoed his sentiment, claiming that my constant overtime was dragging down the performance of the entire tax department. The reality was that Tom had dumped an entire month's worth of client files on my desk, all of which had urgent deadlines that needed to be met by the end of the month. As I glanced at the piles of paperwork, my heart sank. These files had to be completed, yet Tom was already packing up his things, leaving me with the weight of his neglect. Without a word, he walked out, leaving me to pick up the pieces. Emily followed shortly after, laughing mockingly as she went. I was left with a mountain of work and no one to help me. It became clear that they wanted me gone. They saw my experience and knowledge as a threat, something that overshadowed Tom's weak leadership. Tom's unapproachable demeanor made him an outsider, and Emily's loyalty to him seemed motivated by her desire to climb the corporate ladder by aligning herself with him. She wanted to be seen as his right hand, willing to do whatever it took to stay in his good graces. They couldn't stand the fact that I was better equipped to handle clients and was the go-to person for many within the department. Despite all of this, I kept pushing through. My clients were counting on me, and I couldn't let them down. But one day, as I sat at my desk, completely drained from the constant harassment, I received a summons to the president's office. It seemed that the leadership had changed, with the former president stepping down due to illness. The new president, his son, was still learning the ropes of the company, and he seemed eager to make his mark. When I walked into the office, Tom and Emily were there, their faces twisted in smirks. The president wasted no time and dropped a bombshell. "Lily, we'll need you to resign by the end of this month." My mind raced as I asked for clarification. It turned out that Tom and Emily had accused me of overbilling for overtime, claiming that while others had around 15 hours of overtime, I had exceeded 80. The president seemed convinced, impressed with Tom and Emily's numbers and their claim that they hadn't taken any overtime. But I knew the truth. The inflated overtime was a result of doing their work. I couldn't expose Tom's neglect without implicating myself, so I chose to defend myself with facts, explaining that I was simply struggling to manage my workload within regular hours. The president, while acknowledging that there was no evidence to support their claims, still expressed doubt. He pointed out that the company couldn't afford to keep someone who worked at such a slow pace. With a heavy heart, I agreed to resign. It seemed that my 37 years of service meant nothing to him, and it hurt. As I left the office, I could feel their smug satisfaction. Emily taunted me with a sarcastic, "Thanks for quitting." I didn't respond to her, instead offering a silent, resolute stare. Tom gave me a dismissive nod, his words echoing in my mind as he praised the decision to cut labor costs. Once out of the office, I began preparing for my exit. I sent letters to my clients, notifying them of my resignation and providing the necessary information about my successor. A week later, while relaxing at home, my phone rang again. It was the company. I hesitated before answering, but the persistent calls from Tom, Emily, and the president eventually got to me. When I picked up, the president urgently asked, "Who exactly are you?" I couldn't help but mockingly respond, "Just an unemployed lady who resigned from the company. Nothing else." The president's tone was frantic as he explained the chaos since my departure. Clients had been calling non-stop, demanding to know why transactions were being halted. Even prospective companies we were hoping to introduce had called to cancel. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't expect the full extent of it. When I returned to the office, I found Tom and Emily looking haggard, their faces lined with stress. They confessed that since my resignation, they had been bombarded with calls to stop transactions, not only from my clients but from others as well. Tom, clearly desperate, accused me of orchestrating the cancellations. His tone was accusatory, and Emily joined in with her usual spiteful comments. I remained calm, knowing that the truth would eventually come to light. When I entered the president's office, Tom immediately took charge, as though I was the one in the wrong. He demanded that I explain myself. I remained composed, calmly explaining that my clients didn't need us anymore. They had been with us because of the personalized services I provided, not because of the company's bureaucracy. But Tom, of course, dismissed this as inefficiency. The president sighed, recognizing the difference in our approaches. It was then that I received a call from my father, the former president. He informed me that some of my clients had gone directly to him to negotiate on my behalf, and he emphasized how essential my contributions had been to the department. I had been a key player, not only managing my own clients but supporting others as well. If I hadn't declined the promotion years ago, I would have been in a higher position than a department head by now. The president's demeanor changed, and he looked at me with regret in his eyes. Emily appeared stunned, likely grappling with the idea that I could have been her superior. The president then apologized for pushing me to resign and asked if I would reconsider. My father, in his wisdom, had reminded him of my value to the company. However, I hesitated. I no longer wanted to be part of their toxic environment. But before I could respond, Tom interrupted, visibly upset. He demanded to know why I was chosen over him. Emily echoed his sentiments, her disbelief almost palpable. The president revealed that, since my resignation, there had been numerous complaints about how Tom and Emily had been shifting their workload onto others. The president then dropped another bombshell. He revealed that Tom and Emily had been having an affair, and the accounting department had receipts to prove it. Tom, unable to defend himself, began to sweat profusely. Emily turned pale, realizing that their secrets were out. The president didn't hesitate, firing both of them on the spot. In the aftermath, Tom and Emily begged for their jobs, but their fate was sealed. They faced the consequences of their actions, Tom's divorce, the fallout from their affair, and the public shame that followed. As for me, I had already moved on. I had no interest in returning to a company that had shown me so little respect. Instead, I found peace by working at a friend's tax office, enjoying a more relaxed lifestyle. The idea of starting my own office began to take shape. I wanted to serve my clients without the corporate constraints, on my own terms. And with that, my second life began, a life filled with new possibilities and opportunities to pursue what truly mattered to me.